Let's talk about your TOEFL speaking question number 1 so we can improve your score, and how to take notes for the speaking in general, questions 2, 3, and 4, as in a way that can help you for the listening and the writing sections. In today's episode of TOEFL Talk with NoteFull, number 2. So, hello, it's Joseph from NoteFull, and I'm very excited to be with you as usual. And what I want to do first is jump right into the questions that you submitted. So I'm so happy to have heard from you. I heard all of your recordings, and I was only able to choose 2, though I want you to know that it's great to hear from you. I really want you to submit. I'll tell you how to do that at the end. And let's listen to what one of your peers, your classmates here, needs help with on the speaking so that we can all improve together. So Laxman, let's give you a listen.
Hi, Joseph. And today I'm asking you one question regarding the speaking that I am facing. Actually, while taking the test, I am facing problem of note taking. I really have poor skill set to note the matches that I have heard. So how can I improve it? And secondly, I do have problem on generating the answer for question number 1, speaking section. So is there some specific procedure to generate answer? That would be really helpful for me. Thank you.
All right. So great question. Great question, right? So something I think we can all connect to. So what I got from that is, how do we take notes effectively? Kind of the core to success in that. And question number 1, common thing, how do we come up with reasons, examples, how do we structure that answer? So we're going to do our best to deal with that today in a way that helps you with vocabulary. And remember, in this series, the goal is to work with you, not to give you a tips and tricks video, but to work with you, because Laxman, you speak very well, high level of English, great accent, well done. All of you do just because of your listening and learning English in English, right? It says so much about your score. So the goal is really to be with you in a more casual way. So let's jump into our vocabulary, right? Casual. So what we want to do is be focused and casual at the same time. So sometimes they don't seem to match, but it's very important to succeed. And it's kind of the goal of this series as we get every episode kind of going. So casual means relaxed and unconcerned. So we want that relaxed part and a little bit of that sense of less concern. So when we're talking about taking notes and improving on question 1 in the speaking, the most important thing is to relax so you don't get that word that we got from episode 1, tunnel vision. So when you take notes, you need to be a little open in how you listen, because if you listen for every individual key word, you're going to get lost. So we have an expression in English, right? You're not going to see, so not going to see the forest for the trees, something like that. So let's see what comes up. Yeah. See the forest for the trees. So let's go over here, click on the here. So what does it mean when you can't see the forest for the trees, right? It's so common to all of us that it's an expression. An expression used of someone who is too involved in the details of a problem to look at the situation as a whole. So what that means is, if I were asked, where am I would say, well, I don't know, but I know I see a tree. So if you look around, you'd see that we're in a forest, right? But when we zoom in too much, we lose that larger picture. When you take notes, you need the larger picture. So what I like to give an example of is a Christmas tree. And in our listening, so for those of you who were in the listening class, right, just a little while ago today, when you think of a Christmas tree, right, Western celebration, Christmas, December, coming soon, the Christmas tree is like the main idea. It's the forest. And so the decorations, the things you add are like the trees, they're accents. They lose their meaning if we don't know that we're hanging them, we're placing them on the main idea. So I'm going to make up a little lecture for you, right? In TOEFL Talk again, I want it to be a casual interaction that's very serious, but that's kind of just exploring this topic, where at the end of our episode, I hope you feel excited and positive with some improvement that is really practical, but in a way that isn't so intense, right? That isn't just like nonstop information. So if you take out your sheet of scratch paper right now, I'm going to make up a little lecture, and so please know that this is not going to be accurate. But what I want you to do is write just one word. So I want you to write down just one word that you think represents the major point that we're learning about. So I'm going to pick a topic. It was one that I did earlier today. So we begin. Just one word, right? So archaeologists spend a lot of time investigating artifacts and remains that tell them about many different things, and one major focus is about our human culture. You know, our civilizations of the past, going back hundreds or thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago. And in the search for understanding human culture, archaeologists dig up remains of humans and see what was around them. Okay, so that was an introduction, and an introduction goes kind of in a lot of different directions. So if you were to pick one word, that was the background introduction, what do you think that word would be? What did you write down, right? Feel comfortable. Now, if you're anything like some students, you might be saying, well, I don't know. I don't know what word. So that kind of stress often means that we're paying so much attention to the details that we have so many in our head that we're stressed about which one. So if you go back to the image of the Christmas tree, I was introducing you to something. Like, what do you think I'm going to talk about next? Like, what was I trying to introduce you to? I hope you got the sense of either something like a word like archaeology, human, or culture. So either one of those words would represent that idea. From that word, you can remember. Now, when you take notes, you can take more than one word. But the reason why I pushed you for it is for Laxman and everybody to change your way of listening. You're listening for what everything is about. You're not listening to everything. You're looking around to say, where am I? Instead of just saying, there's a tree, there's a rock, there's dirt. You know, so this way you kind of understand a little bit better. Now, introductions can be a little tricky. So the next paragraph or piece of information is going to be a little bit easier. So let's begin. So in this, pick another word, right? One word that you think this information is about. All the details that you can hang on. So I'll do my best. Again, it's not perfect or accurate, but here we go. So archaeologists in the Americas, especially in North America, have found remains of humans that sometimes date back to 35,000 years ago. And these remains put into question how humans migrated into the Americas. We used to think they migrated 10,000 years ago during the Ice Age, when a land bridge was exposed. But now we think that somehow humans arrived much sooner. All right, so I was really thinking in my brain, kind of like you see my eyes so focused. Now, I'm not making it very easy, because if I were making it easy, I would be repeating the word. So I want you to feel relaxed. The TOEFL can be a little easier, because I just want you to feel comfortable, right? Casual, but focused. So not stressed, but caring. What word do you think represents what I just said best? maybe a word like discovery, right? Or maybe a word like, I would even say remains, because what's the focus of that little unit was a discovery that I kind of made up from different documentaries that I saw. So if you're interested, you can research and you'll see how maybe I'm completely wrong. But the idea is that everything I'm saying is to introduce to you the point that something was discovered that put something into question. So a good keyword would be the discovery, or maybe what was discovered, the remains or the bones. So if you said other things like Ice Age, it's not bad. Like, it works because notes are unique because they're specific to you. So the point of this exercise is not to take perfect notes, but for you, Laxman, and others, to change the way you listen. Now you're listening for, what is this about? We're not overly focused on the trees. We can see the forest. We're not just stressed out about the trees or overly focused on them. So how does this relate to the speaking section? Questions 2, 3, and 4. So here's what I notice. In questions 2, 3, and 4, when I hear your example answers, in question number 2, if you remember this is kind of TOEFL Talk. So again, the goal is to interact with those of you who may not have taken the TOEFL before, but many of you have, and you have a lot of experience. So if you haven't taken the TOEFL, at the end when I talk about partnership, I'll tell you where you can go on the site or what you can do to get more detailed help. But for those of you working to improve week after week, month after month, when I hear your answers to question number 2, when you give the students reason, I hear a lot of details, but it's not hanging on a tree. So it keeps you at the 18 to 22 out of 30 range. The graders are listening for your understanding of what the main point is. So if we just hear details without a clear understanding of the actual reason, then we're missing something. So I'll give you another little example. Let's say that in question number 2 of the speaking, the change that's going on is they're going to increase tuition, right? And let's say the student is excited about this, right? And the first reason is because they're going to improve the quality of equipment in laboratories, right? Makes sense. Okay, they can invest in the university, improve the laboratory equipment. The student can say something like this, and it makes a lot of sense because when I was in my physics class, we had these lasers that we were using that were so out of date. So with this change, there's a chance to actually have some good equipment. Now, when I hear you, you want to express the information even better than the TOEFL. So it's like you say the Christmas tree, you tell me the point, and then you put the decorations. So a stronger way to give an example would be the students, or the stronger way to give the answer for the student. His reason would be something like, first, he likes the increase in tuition because it can help improve the equipment in labs. He explains that in his physics lab, the laser he was using, that equipment didn't work. So with this change, he would have a better experience. So again, I'm making this up as we go, but you see the difference that you're really explaining. I've understood the information and I'm demonstrating my understanding. I've digested it. So let's go to the dictionary here. Digested definition. So what does it mean to digest? To break, well, here we have like the literal definition, but here we have understand or assimilate by a period of reflection. You see how perfect that word is for us with the speaking. So digest means, one of the meanings, understand or assimilate by a period of reflection. So not to give you too many words, Assimilate you can Google on your own. I want to give you like 3 core words. So I like the expression, can't see the forest for the tree. I like digested, so we understand. There are so many things that we talk about too with note taking. What words to write down. Listen for subject, verb, object. Indentation, so you see how the details are related to the topic. Each question has a specific structure, so you can prepare your scratch paper before you even listen, so it helps you know what's coming. But that's, why we have our courses, which take, 6 to 12 hours to complete when you get introduced to the section. But so in this TOEFL talk, I kind of want to talk to you in a way that I noticed is the biggest thing that can produce results for you right now, right? If you remember from episode 1, reframing the way you think so you get results right away. Now, the next thing with question 1 examples, question 1 answer, this one is also involved, right? There's a lot I can say, but the biggest thing that helps with question 1 when you're thinking of your answers and your reasons is to be personal. So what I'm going to do is put on the screen values. And so what you see on the screen is a powerful book, Nonviolent Communication. So this book I read several years ago, dedicated to helping you and other students how to communicate more effectively. And nonviolent communication is kind of a unique title, but it's really about how to deal with challenges. So when you're communicating, to really create a place of clarity and overcome difficulty. So it's a very interesting book. If you're interested, I'll have the link below for you to read it. I think you'll find it really powerful and supportive, especially when you're dealing with challenges, the world that we live in. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it breaks down communication into observations, feelings, needs, and requests. The needs is the key thing for you to improve your score with question 1. We've actually based a lot of our success with students on that, so it's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is now put up the needs. Okay, so we have the needs on the screen now, and I'm blocking some of them with the video, but I don't want you to see all of them. I just want you to see some of them. And so several years ago, we started to switch to teaching this way because we noticed that in order for you to express your opinion, you want to, again, reframe. It's not just about a technique of answer, reason, example. It's about expressing why you feel a certain way about something. So let's take a couple of these words. Let's see, affection, acceptance, appreciation, belonging, cooperation, communication, closeness. So these are values that this book, the author, a PhD, I think he was or maybe not a PhD, but like a clinical psychologist, right? So really someone who spent a lot of time trying to digest all the ways that people spoke and communicated and why they were communicating. What's the heart of your explanation? So it's a value. You're trying to satisfy a value. So it's the idea that everything we do is to reach a value, right? So let's look at a word such as cooperation, right? Cooperation may or may not be important to you, but you want to pick the words that are, and you want to get familiar with this. So let's say I ask you a question, number 1, that says, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Teachers should ban the use of, or schools should not allow students to bring cell phones to campus, right? Well, how is that related to cooperation? Well, cooperation means working with people. So so just thinking of that in cell phones, it's like if you are in class and you have a cell phone and you imagine everybody with cell phones, in that class, is it going to support or not support cooperation? I might think, for me, it doesn't support cooperation. So why not? An example comes to mind because when you're thinking about what you believe in, what you feel, you visualize what's happening and you can see the classroom. And then you might say something like, well, for me, it's not a good idea. So I agree with the statement that schools should not allow the use of phones because I think it'll hurt the interaction in the classroom a lot. For example, I think students won't really cooperate with each other or work with the teacher because they'll be too busy, searching things online, maybe distracted with videos. I mean, it's obvious that kids get kind of bored and distracted during class, blah, blah, blah. So the idea is by connecting with these words, you'll be able to express yourself honestly, which is the best thing. Then, when you express yourself honestly, the ideas and the opinions come natural because it's impossible to prepare 45 seconds of speech in 15 seconds. But it's incredibly simple and instant to have a conversation with somebody you know about things you think about. You have it every time when you pick up, you pick up the phone, you call your friend, you have a conversation. You don't, every time they ask you a question, say, hold on, wait. I need 30 seconds to prepare my response. So again, a reframe. So again, for question number 1, we go into deep strategy. How much time to spend for each part, how to actually use these words in exercise. So again, that's hours of training to really boost your score and transform. That's why we created TOEFL Talk, because sometimes we think it's just a simple strategy that's going to help us to improve. But if that were the case, you would have improved already. So this means, the way I think about the question, the way I communicate, how I understand, my vocabulary, my level of comfort with the language, that has to improve along with my TOEFL skills. So I hope this helps you and allows the TOEFL to kind of introduce you to new things that are interesting. And just for me personally, feel a little nervous with the series because it's just kind of open, really trying to connect and help transform what's happening so you can get your dream score. And we're going to see episode by episode what you like, what we can do better, so it's really more supportive for you. But I think you're starting to get the sense of what this series is about. It's really about connecting with you where you are on a journey of weeks or months. Some of you have been on for years, some of you starting it, when we really need big improvements that require us to make real changes to our communication so that when we read, listen, speak, or write, it's at a different level that the TOEFL wants. So Laxman, I hope that answered your question. And now we have another. So let's go to Ankita. So let's hear Ankita's question, which we had second because it's a little bit, I can answer it more quickly and directly because Laxman, your question points to kind of some bigger things. So let's hear Ankita.
I am confused that using simple vocabulary will improve my score, or inputting large and difficult vocabularies will improve my score. Can I speak fluently using simple words, or I have to input tough vocabularies to get my team score?
This is excellent. So we want to use the right words, not big words or simple words. And the right words are usually simple. So no, you don't need to use big words. You don't need to concentrate on them. You need to use the words that are precise. So for example, in our class, right, so we have a couple words here. We have can't see the forest for the trees, and we have digested. So those are two. The other word I'm going to teach you is frenetic. So we talked about this, frenetic. So I said, I'm going to work frenetically to get the recording up for you to review, to get your homework. And so I said, does everyone know what frenetic means? So I put this up on the screen, right, for our online class. And you see that it means fast and energetic in a rather wild and uncontrolled way. And then we had a great student just like you say, well, is that like vigorous, right? Texted that in class. So vigorous. And it is, but there is a different sense of the word because vigorous means strong, healthy, and full of energy, right? Now, frenetic means fast and energetic in a wild and uncontrolled way. So first, you can say these are kind of big words, right? You don't need to use these on the TOEFL speaking. But I want to kind of work with you on your vocabulary, build it for the TOEFL reading, the TOEFL listening, and show you that it's about choosing the right word. So, for example, let's say that you are giving your example. It can be as simple as when you go to the kitchen, just what's a little bit more accurate? Do you do you cook bread or do you bake bread? You bake bread, right? So cook is not something inaccurate in the way that it'll lower your score. But when I hear students give their answers, sometimes there's that kind of choice of word that is a little easy, that is kind of what comes to you first, instead of the word that really matches the meaning that you know. So that's why we have the expression at NoteFull that you'll hear all the time if you haven't already. Think first, speak second. And that's why if you remember from episode 1, we do need to speak with energy. We don't want to be frenetic. We don't want to have tunnel vision, if you remember from episode 1, and just keep kind of going. What we want to do is we want to know we're being evaluated for our clarity. So we want to choose the words that match our meaning, and that's going to get our dream score. So all you want to do, Ankita, feel confident that your vocabulary is strong. And if you apply what we learned with Laxman, where you're reviewing the values vocabulary, you're expressing yourself from your authentic opinion, you're really telling about your own experience, your vocabulary is going to be varied and strong. And you just want to make sure that you're speaking to explain something to another person using the best words, the simplest words, the clearest words that match your meaning, which is, frenetic instead of vigorous. If I want to imply, I'm going to work kind of like crazy, or bake instead of cook if I'm talking about bread, right? So I hope that makes sense. Now, let's take a moment to review our vocab. Our first expression was can't see the forest for the trees, related to note-taking. What is this all about? What can you hang all the details on? Build your comprehension. So that way when you look at your notes or when you take notes, it'll help you answer more correctly in the listening. For the speaking, it helps you explain because you know what the main point is. You can start with that. You can make it easier for your listener because it's like, here's the main point and all the details about it. Digest. So we learned before we take notes, we want to digest what we hear. We don't need to feel the pressure to write everything down. We trust our brain, we trust our memory, and we just digest what we hear and then take down the key points to help us remember. Then we learned that when we express ourselves, it's great to build our vocabulary. That's why we have a vocabulary part of this TOEFL Talk series. And at the same time, trust your vocabulary is enough to get a 26 to 30 out of 30. Just because of your academic level, the fact that you're watching this video in English. So you just want to keep mastering your words so that when you speak, you use the word that matches exactly what you want to communicate more and more. And we learned that with frenetic, which means you can almost say work vigorously in a crazy or wild way. But not to be confused, frenetic is work energetically in a wild way, and vigorous is just work with a lot of energy and life and you can even say enthusiasm. So with that, I hope this is clear, and our next step is partnership. So for this, what I want to focus on is remember this series is meant to really support you as you study your material. So it would be great as we get this series started to get your enthusiasm and support, because it's like, oh, I hope this helps you. I mean, it's all about you. So hit that thumbs up button now if you haven't already, if you found something supportive and helpful in today's series, today's episode. And don't forget to click subscribe. That's a way to stay partnered so that when the next video comes up, you can be alerted, you can watch, and we can keep working together. So if you go below this video, you'll see the link as usual where you can click, you can go to the site, you can explore, you can see the help that we have, and most importantly, you'll be taken directly to the page where you can record yourself asking for help for the next lesson. So we plan to make the next lesson on Thursday, this coming Thursday, 2 p.m. New York time. But just because this is new, in case it takes a little bit more time to produce, we might be launching videos every other week, but you can expect our goal every week. So have your mindset for Thursday at 2 p.m. So from the NoteFull team, we wish you success. You're on track. Until the next episode, stay strong and know that you can do it. You're not alone. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.